everyone, this is Mindy Egan for Honeybee Stamps, and in today's video, I'm going to be ink blending on Kraft Cardstock. Now, I've really fallen in love with this technique, and instead of putting a white layer of ink down first, which is what I've done in the past, I'm going to just go straight in with my colored ink. So the stencil that I'm going to be using today is the Folk Art Daisy Stencil. This is a 4-piece stencil, and it has it etched at the very top what layer each one is. So I am going to start with the first layer, which is going to be the main flower pieces. And I'm going to hold my stencil down over some craft cardstock using my magnets from my magnetic work surface. Now, this first color I'm using is Midnight Ink from Concord and Ninth. You can use any dark blue color that you may have in your stash or even the oxides. I didn't use the oxides today because I didn't want to have that chalky look. I really wanted a nice dye ink color. So I'm going to apply my ink using a blending brush. Now I did get a little heavy handed here, so I'm going to just kind of dry that with my heat tool. And I also wiped down my surface because I did not want to pick up any of that dark blue ink. Now I'm coming in with sunflower ink, and you're going to notice sunflower ink or a yellow ink looks really different on craft cardstock. And I will be honest, I was not loving this at first. I had tempted or thought about starting over, but I just kept going with it. Now, this next color is avocado, also out of the Concord and Ninth ink line. And I'm going over those areas with my ink blending brush. Once I removed that third layer, then it was starting to feel better to me. Now I have one more layer to go, and that is going to be adding the stems or the branches in here. And for this, I did a brown. I could have done probably a darker green ink, but I thought brown would be a nice change up to that design. So at this point, I was feeling pretty good about this. I really liked how this was looking on that craft cardstock, but I'm going to add just a little bit of splatter to this. So I have some water that I added to my work surface, and I mixed that with a white paint and flicked that onto my background. Now I was really loving how this was looking. I'm going to dry this with my heat tool so I don't transfer any ink or splatters onto my die cutting plates. What I want to do is trim this background out. So I'm using these Sweet Stacks rectangles from Honeybee Stamps, kind of picked out the area of the card front that I wanted and die cut that out so it's measuring 4¼ by 5½. I'm also going to take a white piece of cardstock measuring that same size, and I'm die cutting out a panel from this. And what I'm doing is really creating a border to go around my design. And I really like that pop of white. I think it ties in really nice with the white splatters. So for sentiment, I am using the Big Time Kindness stamp set. I love the Big Time sentiment that Honeybee offers. There's a couple different ones. This is one of the newer ones, and I picked out Hello Friend because I think it's a great kind of general all-around occasion card to send out. So I stamped that in the intense black ink onto white cardstock, and I cut that out with the coordinating die, and I also cut that out from white cardstock 2 more times, and I'm going to layer it together using the liquid glue just to give this a little bit of dimension and stability. For the white frame, I wanted to pop that up a little bit as well, so I'm adding some foam tape all around the border of that white frame. Then I'll remove the backing from that foam tape, and I'm going to line this up over my ink blended panel. And typically what I'll do is I line it up in the bottom left-hand corner. I don't know why that's kind of my default to use when I'm lining things up, but I line that up with that bottom corner and then just kind of let that fall down into place. And once I'm happy with it, I'll kind of press that down. If I see any of that bottom panel hanging out, I'll just trim that out with my scissors. Then I can go ahead and add my sentiment to the center of this card using that liquid glue. And then I have a few things I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle to this. So I picked out the Crystal Clear Mix Gems. These already have adhesive on the back, and I'm just picking them up with my craft pick and adding 2 at the bottom and 3 at the top. So then that's going to finish off my card project for today. So I know I've kind of been on a craft cardstock kick. I think it's just a really nice change up, and the colors come out a little different than what you would expect. I hope you enjoyed today's card project. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.